With so much heavy dialogue and information flowing throughout the YouTube God discussion, both sides of the issue have had multiple opportunities to clarify their positions. It's easy to forget that in the world beyond that active discussion, many believers are deeply ignorant regarding what an atheist position actually is. In my experience, a believer's typical reply to discovering that I don't believe in God is a ghastly shock, especially if they've known me long enough to understand that I'm actually a good person. This is usually followed by some kind of humorously ignorant question, such as, so then you worship the devil? If it's not that misconception I have to clear up, it's the far more typical mistake they make when they ask me, so you don't believe in anything then? I consider this question the result of theists believing that their God is everything, and therefore to not believe in it would classify me as a nihilist, with no need for any distinction between the two. Because if I don't believe in God, what could I possibly believe? But someday that well of ignorance will dry and the paradigm will shift. It'll be the intelligent people who still cling to the ancient fairy tales who are regarded with shock when they share their beliefs, as that shock is far more justified than the shock of a good person claiming he or she doesn't need a celestial overlord giving threats and incentives to be moral. As each generation of our children become more exposed to genuine, refined, and tested information, they will become more skeptical of their parents' religion until it is accepted as nothing more than the mythology that it is. Someday our children will come home from history class and they'll ask why our presidents were elected so much more for their religious commitments and family values than they were for their political savvy and leadership skills. They will ask why we built so many churches and jails instead of more schools and universities. They will ask why so much financial support and community attention went to pastors, priests, and war chests rather than educators, scientists, and those less fortunate. Someday, they'll ask why so many kept their disbelief silent like a shameful secret in the midst of otherwise rational people forcing their irrational beliefs into public education and government buildings. Someday, the churches sprinkled across our country like blemishes of intolerance and misinformation will be converted into homeless shelters and soup kitchens, and the funds that people used to drop into black hole collection plates will instead go to helping their fellow humans. Someday, passages of the Bible will be read in school as ancient literature tantamount to the Iliad or the Odyssey today, and the students will ask why people ever took such absurd works of poorly written fiction seriously, how such stories so full of plot holes and contradictions could ever be revered as the result of divine inspiration from a flawless author. Someday, people will wonder why atheists using the internet to come out of the woodwork in droves and lay waste to the long unchecked claims of religion ever even needed to happen. And someday, I will look back ashamed that I was once part of the problem, but proud that I became part of the solution. Someday, the light of reason will beam just brightly enough to pierce the darkness of mythological obsession and shine clearly enough to expose our attention and care to the things that actually deserve it. That's what I believe in.